my business partner and I said, look, we really want to create a software business. It's clearly more difficult than we gave it credit for. Why don't we divide and conquer? So took over the reins at InfoTrust. I stepped back completely, which wasn't easy. I'd acknowledge it's particularly to begin with. And I focused all of my energy on bringing in the right people.
Hey there, it's Linh Podetti here, and today I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Dane Meah, an EO Sydney member who joined EO in 2020. Now, Dane is an experienced cybersecurity leader, problem solver, and innovator. He's a co-founder of the award-winning InfoTrust and CEO of a security SaaS platform business, MyCISO. Now, MyCISO enables IT leaders to identify and solve the security gaps and produce consultant-grade assessment reports, risk reports, and improvement strategy. In this episode, Dane takes us on a journey through his startup experience, shedding light on the challenges of launching a second business and the valuable insights he's gained about team building. Now let's join me in welcoming Dane. Hey Dane, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I was fortunate to actually get to meet you in person when we were doing the moderator training together. And I'm excited to have you here today and really talk about a topic that has been really hot lately. I was at an EO event as well and learned about cybersecurity, and you're in that business. So let's talk a little bit about, how you got into that business in the first place.
Oh, actually, it's a funny story, like a lot of new beginnings. So when I came to Australia in 2007, I found myself arriving. I was in Korea and I was due to arrive in about 8 hours, and my accommodation had fallen through. So I messaged the only person that I knew in Australia and said, "Hell, is there anywhere I can stay?" And by the time I landed, there was an email in my inbox directing me to an apartment in Milsons Point. So as luck would have it, at that apartment, which we arrived on New Year's Day, they were having a barbecue, and I met the sales director of a cybersecurity company who offered me a job immediately. So very fortuitous, never had any experience in cybersecurity, and ended up working for that business, which was acquired by Symantec, which was a global big company.
Yeah.
I worked for them for many years and kind of learned my trade and ultimately launched my first business partnering with Symantec. So that was, everything happens for a reason, they say.
How old were you then when you first got into the world of cyber?
Well, that was 17 years ago. So I was 22. So I'm 39 now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how many years later did you start the business?
Yeah, so I worked with Symantec for 7 years and worked my way up through that business, did quite well and, learnt my trade. And part of the lesson and the journey in this subsidiary of Symantec was it was a global business. The subsidiary had about 500 staff, but locally about 30. So I had good exposure to all facets of the business, from finance, accounting, marketing, support, etc. And it was kind of my mini MBA on how to run a SaaS and a tech and a security business. So after 7 years, I kind of was looking for the next thing, whether to go and work in another business. But I always had that entrepreneur. I started businesses in my teens and, I wanted to create something, and I saw an opportunity really. I saw the shift that was occurring circa 2014, which was, switching away from the big mega trend, which was moving from on-prem to the cloud. And actually, whilst that's still happening today, the big mega trend that was occurring in 2014 was security specialization. It wasn't as wrapped up into the IT department anymore, although it is in the smaller end of town. But certainly in medium and larger businesses, that you were starting to see focus and dedication. So we created. I approached a colleague of mine at Symantec and said, "I think we can create a business here." Relationships, we know the market, we know the problems, and we created InfoTrust. Just the two of us in a broom cupboard, like a lot of people. We're in a Regis office over on Kent Street. On the Friday we left Symantec. Monday we're in our new office, and couple of sales guys not really knowing what to do. We started the business and off we went, and that was how we started the business. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say we, is a business partner or?
Yeah. So I think again, over my time at Symantec, I knew my strengths. I was the resilient, focused, determined one, but I wasn't the person that was as well relating. I wasn't good at the internal politics. Let's call it that. I was a little blunt for the internal politics side of things. I could see the way my business partner, my former colleague, was excellent at navigating senior internal relationships. And I thought I was quite impressed by that. So I just at a basic level, I could see there was some good synergies there as a co-founder. So I approached Simon, and conversely, he'd never had plans to start his own business, but he thought, Dane's always done pretty well. I could, and that seems like a journey I could go on. And well, we've never looked back. We've always had a good relationship as co-founders. We challenge each other. We don't always agree, but we, if we have any disagreements, we shake hands and make up at the end of it. But yeah, so Simon and I've been working together between Symantec, the first business, and now the second business for 17 years.
That is amazing and so aspirational, because you hear a lot of horror stories with partnership, and I've been in a lot of partnerships and never worked out. So it's really good to hear that hopeful story. So tell me more about the current cybersecurity service that you do. Who do you serve? What kind of problems do people come, and then how do you fix it? The reason why I ask that is because it's a topic that everyone kind of wants to resolve at the moment or get on it, because we hear all these horror stories on the news. And when I went to the event recently, I even go, I really need to put some effort in this. And so I'd love to hear about who you help and how you help.
Yeah, sure. So two businesses. So the one is called InfoTrust. We started that in 2014 to really support medium to large businesses. But, today we have businesses of all sizes, ranging from 10 employees up to 50, 60,000 employees. And at the top end of town, it's the very niche and specific, specialized engagements that we might have around a particular security requirement that they have. So we're not all security for those guys. But then in the smaller end of town, we have quite a few smaller SaaS businesses, for example, that need to do security well. Their clients are demanding it. And we operate effectively as a sort of an outsourced security manager for them. And we sort of take the business on a journey from benchmarking where they're at, building out an improvement plan, starting to implement the foundations, so things like good security policy, and then the technology that underpins that, defining roles and responsibilities and so on. So we kind of have a bit of a spread. InfoTrust serves about 400 clients across Australia. The new business is completely different. So the new business, MyCISO, so the name is MyCISO, which stands for Chief Information Security Officer, is a software application that really SaaSifies that consulting journey that InfoTrust has historically delivered. So instead of having to engage a consultant, which is increasingly more expensive and quite unaffordable, particularly for smaller businesses, MyCISO makes that whole journey accessible to anyone. And actually, initially, it was designed for the smaller to medium-sized businesses. What we've learned, I guess a big lesson that I had is don't assume anything. Because I assumed the larger businesses, they've got it covered. They've got loads of resources, got loads of staff. What I found is whilst they do have resources and staff, bringing their security improvement program together is quite challenging. There's a lot of spreadsheets, lots of different regulations and standards and so forth. So we've been able to acquire in our first about 15 months, close to 80 customers, again, with quite a broad spread. So we have a number of EOers on board who in some cases have got full staff, but in a regulated space and want to do cyber comprehensively. But then at the other end, we've got about, I think 4 or 5, for example, large universities and a couple of big global insurers that have come on board for different reasons. But those are kind of some examples of our customers.
Yeah. So like, are you talking about being able to get the same cybersecurity protection or implementation for a fraction of the cost of what you normally do in the consulting side? Is that how technically it works?
Yeah, it's so typically when, let's say your business was to wake up and say, right, I need to tackle cybersecurity as a business. Yes, we have endpoint security. We use McAfee or CrowdStrike or whatever, but we need to do it more comprehensively. You might decide that one day. Then you go, well, what the hell am I meant to do, right? And that's when you typically would engage a consulting firm or a security practice. Now, the process is normally then to perform a security maturity assessment on your business aligned to something like ISO 27001, NIST, or Essential 8. That engagement alone is typically a $15,000 to $30,000 engagement. And then that's just telling you how bad you are or good you are. It doesn't improve you. It just tells you where you're weak. So then the implementation comes. All right, defining roles and responsibilities, policies. Again, lots of consulting time. So it can rack up quite a big bill quite quickly. So we've built out a lot of the manual kind of human processes into the application so that you just follow the bouncing ball, and we deliver it as a customer success engagement instead of a consultant, coming on site or doing user interviews and things like that. So much accessible. Yeah.
That sounds exciting. I think I need to really look at it as well. And so let's talk about this second business of yours. Is like, how long have you had it now, and what were some of the challenges in starting the second business?
Yeah, so having come from the software side of cybersecurity with Symantec, I always had the appetite, and I'd sometimes wake up with an idea to create a product. And I'd just go, okay, that's a problem. I wonder if we could create some software around that. And it took me a few years to, jump at one of the ideas. And, we were starting to get a lot of customers around sort of 2016 saying, this ransomware is really worrying us. Are we ransomware ready? And so we created an assessment to determine whether or not they were ransomware ready. And we built it into a little WordPress plugin where it runs through the questions and produces a little report. It was okay, it was pretty basic, and that gave us the idea. Actually, I wonder if we could do something much more sophisticated, aligned to a proper framework. So we finally found someone that could come on board as the product lead, who was a GRC, a security consultant, practice manager. And he had the job of practice manager and building the product within InfoTrust. Of course, first mistake, too much for one person. They're 2 jobs, really. So, surprise, I was actually interviewed in a industry press thing, and they said, we hear you're building the new product. When's it coming out? I said, should be July timeframe. That was in 2017. Fast forward 3 years, we still hadn't launched, and we were getting close. We were in beta in about mid 2020, and getting some feedback from customers. It was very exciting. And then the practice manager resigned. He had to go back to his home country, look after his family. So I just thought, this is a disaster. I don't actually know much about what we've built here. I better get my head into it. So I spent a morning playing around with the tool, and he said, if you have any problems, give us a call. Straight on the phone. Mate, please come back. I'm stuck. I keep getting error messages. Anyway, long story short, it was the software. He come back and tried to explain it was just too complicated. And that was my first mistake, which was, you're trying to create something to drive simplicity. Don't necessarily get the smartest person in your business to create it, because it's going to be easy for them, but not easy for everybody. So I changed tact. So that was a turning point in the second business, where I said, well, if I'm going to make a go at this, we've already blown quite a lot of cash over 3 years. and it's been a failure. Now, you can just say, well, there was a lot of lessons learned, so, we carry those forward. But my business partner and I said, look, we really want to create a software business. It's clearly more difficult than we gave it credit for. Why don't we divide and conquer? So took over the reins at InfoTrust. I stepped back completely, which wasn't easy. I'd acknowledge it's particularly to begin with. And I focused all of my energy on bringing in the right people, building the right vision for the platform, aligned to this time, not what the problems were for the practice manager, right? Who, had great ideas and everything, but it were his problems. Instead was, let's go and find out ideal customers. What are their problems? We mapped out the personas of, at the top end of town, a CISO, at the mid-market, what we actually called Sally the CISO, Charles the CIO, and we might, and then at the smaller end, it was Terry the technical manager. And we built for those three use cases. Within, I would say, 6 months, we'd caught up to where we were, and within 9 months, we were in beta for the new product. And we really accelerated our progress. And so that's kind of been the story. But what the lesson and the experience share from that is, focusing on one thing is generally going to drive a better result than trying to do all things. And that was, even within InfoTrust at the time, there was lots of development in other areas, new products and services. And, that was the lesson for us is, focusing on a few things is much, much more compelling and generally drives a better result.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also because you have a partner, so you're able to have, the option to have one person running the existing business while you're running the new. But if you were alone, what would you have done if you kind of got excited and started this second business? What would you have done?
So, it's not impossible. First of all, you need good people, right? There's no substitute for that. So, luckily my co-founder is high quality and a strong leader. So in the absence of a co-founder, then you still need to have those people around you, right? If you were to keep it, if we decided, no, we're going to build the product within the existing business, and there is some conflict between the two because InfoTrust is a reseller for MyCISO, and we also work with other resellers that compete with InfoTrust. So if we were 100% in InfoTrust, that would have been more challenging. But so my main, if I didn't have a co-founder, it would be, finding the right people. I think, again, the lesson learned that the practice manager, whilst the technical expert, was probably not the right person to build the product. And it was a lesson that I was told, in week one of launching InfoTrust back in 2014, which is always hire and find the absolute best people you can afford. Because cheap or bundling it in because you kind of go, oh, you're great, you can manage that. Whilst it saves some money, it can cost you a lot more in the long run.
Yeah.
We've learned that the hard way.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess how do you know someone is amazing until you work with them and see the result or see, the direction to know, okay, that was actually good, because I think when we hire, we kind of, we wouldn't just hire knowing it's going to be a dud. We hire because we think they're good and valuable. So what's your perspective on that?
Well, that's $1 million question, isn't it? I think, don't settle. That's something I'm going through at the moment. Hiring, we're doing a lot of hiring at the moment, and a bum in a seat doesn't drive the result. So we've been lucky to hire a sales team in a relatively short space of time. There's a lot of candidates coming onto the market due to in the tech space at the moment because of redundancies in other businesses. But whereas in other roles around security consultants that we're now hiring again, the quality can be quite varied. So we've really just sat as opposed to hiring the wrong person. It can be difficult when you really need somebody. But to kind of compensate for the resource that you might need, there are contractors that you can find as well. So we've done that for marketing, for technical skills. So it means we're not as profitable, right, in that area. But like I said, if you hire the wrong person, that can cost you a lot more money in the long term anyway. So
that makes sense. Yeah, especially when you just know you are settling and you're like, just make do because you're in desperate need or stressed out. So it's good that you have made the second business successful, meaning it has clients, it's functional, it's working. Are you now still like you focusing on the second business and your business partner focuses on that? What are the benefits? What are the synergies having these two businesses? Does it integrate in any way, or you're just really running two silo ones?
Yeah, so they're obviously two cybersecurity businesses. So it does mean that you're, for example, we get some, we have effectively a management agreement between the two for HR, for some finance services and things like that. Due to the reasons we separated to keep that independence for our other channel partners, we do run a very separate business. But of course, occasionally when I'm hiring for a role that I'm not, deeply familiar with in the technical side of the detail, I can lean on, people in the business to help me out there, but, that's just the same as having a good network, I suppose. But, so there's definitely, the biggest thing is the lessons I learned, right, from the first business. Right. You try not to make the same mistake twice. And, for example, like I just said, hiring quality, you're paying a bit more usually to do that. But, you've been really lucky to be able to bring in high quality people into the business. We've recently, because we've only been around for a year, so I've been establishing all of those kind of pillars in that business, the leadership team, and we actually had our first formal leadership team meeting today, we've got good quality in each department, and it certainly feels like we've got the foundations for the future of the business. I would say comparatively in the past, launching our first business, we didn't always get it right, trying to promote from within where people perhaps didn't want to or weren't ready to kind of take that leap. The lessons that you learn in your early business ventures definitely help you be more successful the second time around.
Yeah, amazing. So you mentioned earlier that you decided to ask your clients, the different types of target audience and to figure out the problems. I guess, what were some of your experience or learnings from when you're doing product testing, like from what you thought the business could do or the service could do to what you realize that, no, we got this wrong or we got that wrong. Yeah, any experience share around that?
Yeah, so one of our core values as a business is fail fast. Mm-hmm. In 2 years from now, the whole world could be completely different in the side. That's how out. So there's no point getting stuck in our, getting really stuck on any point or any idea. So it's not necessarily about getting it right first time. It's about being prepared to pivot quickly, where you're not seeing the results. So, certainly we get customer feedback. The problem is disseminating that feedback and interpreting a very specific requirement for a business or a customer between something that's going to be right for all customers. So we've quite lucky. We've had quite an engaged customer base, and we've just launched a customer advisory panel, whereby it's about, I think, 8 or 9 of our customers join calls to hear about the roadmap and provide feedback. So it's not all our ideas that are coming into the roadmap. It's actually listening to the customers, and that also, I believe, creates buy-in from the customers into it's being their products and their ideas, and add a bit of loyalty as well.
Yeah. Also, so you're always pivoting, always listening in, and no matter, even if you do it when you're starting out, but you still do it continuously, which is really good. So I guess I wanted to get to know you a little bit personally, the show a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, your family life and what motivated you to really stick through business, all these years.
Yeah, sure. So obviously a POM from an hour north of London, lived in Islington in London for a few years with my girlfriend, now wife, all those years ago. Now have 3 kids, so age 3, 5 and 8. So it's a lot of fun in our house, pretty chaotic at times, but wouldn't have it any other way. Live in the Northern Beaches, so love getting down to the beach, getting into the gym. I guess my ritual is early riser, exercise, be that at the beach or in the gym. I try and do that every day. I'm very kind of family orientated. I unfortunately am an always on kind of mindset, in that it's just the way my brain works, and like a lot of entrepreneurs. But I'm not the type of guy that's working into the evenings. I value that family time. So family, being with the family, being present, a big part of me. Recently, 18 months ago, bought a farm in the Hunter Valley, and it was like a lot of people which were scarred from COVID lockdowns, and that went into solution mode. I thought, right, we'll buy a large rural property, and then of course COVID went away, and it's like, oh, okay, crap, we've got 31 acres. What are we going to do with it? And we were like, oh, we'll live between the two. And then we're like, actually, that's really inconvenient. And but it's lovely. Like, I never thought I would own a property like that. So of course my business mind kicked into gear. So what was we were going to live between, it's now a business, little corner farm, and got development plans to build 5 new structures on that, load of new cabins and event spaces and stuff like that. So watch this space, but that's a bit of a passion project, if anything. But honestly, I don't know why I do it to myself, because I'm it's one of those where you go, seriously, I think I'm nuts. Why have I taken this on? But having a lot of fun. I enjoy it, like dealing with architects now, and so owning a tractor. Never thought I'd own a tractor. Tearing around in my red tractor. So so that's a bit about me. I've got two brothers that live in Australia. They came out here as well, and brought my mum over from the UK last year. So it's nice to be able to do that, and be a bring the family together. So
that's amazing to hear. And I guess I always wrap up the show and love to ask this question for a reason, because it helps to kind of summarize everything. Like, ultimately, you're an entrepreneur, you love your family, and so ultimately, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want the world to remember Dane for?
Yeah, it's a very profound question, and I'm quite quite matter of fact and not deep normally, but I think family is the main thing. I'm not a particularly materialistic kind of person. It's more about the experience at the time. I've never been shrewd, investor necessarily. I'm more about the experience that something's going to give to me. So, for me, who remembers me is really doesn't bother me. It's more about my family and being remembered by them for being present and being a good dad.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dane, for talking to me today, sharing so much insights around, starting a second business, as well as even the way you've shared stories around pivoting. I felt like you're just constantly pivoting. It's really admirable. I'll make sure to have all your details in our description of our YouTube videos below. But thank you so much for being here on the show today.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.